Welcome to a late edition of Kruk and Kuip Extra Innings. As now we are getting closer to as it's hot soup time right now, and the hot soup's starting to heat up a little bit now with the MLB season getting near. As spring training is about a month out now, so things are starting to heat up on the hot soup and stuff. The hot stove, excuse me. And the signing should heat up in the next few weeks now that spring training's less than a month out before players start to report. Here's the signings, releases, and all the etc. from this week. Buddy Boscher's designated for assignment by the Minnesota Twins as part of the Addison Reed signing. And Reed signed for a $16.75 million contract. The Toronto Blue Jays signed Curtis Granderson to a one-year, $5 million contract, pending a physical. And Granderson's probably be used off the bench as he only hit 212 last year with the New York Mets and the LA Dodgers. And he could be likely platooned with Kevin Pillar in center field and Steve Pence in left field. And of course, they also have Teoscar Hernandez, or he could play the DH role in Toronto this year. So we'll see how that works out for Toronto. Rangers signed Diolis Guerra to a minor league contract and will participate in spring training camp for the Texas Rangers. New York Yankees signed Wade LeBlanc to a minor league contract with an invite to spring training. And he didn't do too well in Pittsburgh last season and could start the season down in AAA for the New York Yankees. And the Mets signed Jay Bruce to that's old news. Cubs re-signed Brian Dwensing to a 2-year, $7 million contract. And he had a really good season last year with a 2.74 ERA. Braves acquire Shane Carl from the Pittsburgh Pirates for a player to be named later, or cash considerations. And the Royals agree to a minor league deal with Tyler Collins. Mets designate Kevin McGowan for assignment as part of the Jay Bruce signing. Albuquerque reaches a minor league deal with the Toronto Blue Jays with an invite to spring training for Toronto. And the New York Mets sign Adrian Gonzalez to a 1-year contract. And he's only going to be paid the minimum, so we'll see how he does. And it gives Dominic Smith some more seasoning down in Las Vegas next year. And they also designate Chasen Bradford for assignment as part of the Gonzalez signing. Milwaukee Brewers reach a minor league deal with Ernesto Frieri. And then he pitched well in the minors last year. And we shall see if Frieri can crack the bullpen for the Milwaukee Brewers next year. He last was in the majors with the Angels when he flamed out in 2014. Pirates extend Felipe Rivero to a 22 million 4-year contract. Washington Nationals sign Howie Kendrick to a 12 million 2-year contract, and he will be the utility player for the Nationals next year. So good signing by the Nationals to bring back Howie Kendrick. Rangers sign Kirk Casale to a minor league deal with an invite in spring training. And they also invited Jose Cardona and Taylor Scott to minor league contracts with an invite to spring training. And the Giants acquire, we'll get to that in a second. And the Mariners claim Chasen Bradford off of waivers from the New York Mets as Seattle looks to strengthen their bullpen. And he could start the year in Tacoma with the Rainiers. The Blue Jays acquire Randall Grichuk from the Cardinals for Dominic Leone and Connor Green. And they're hoping that Grichuk could help with the St. Louis hitting for next year. And then Scott Boras is not happy that his clients are not being signed by other teams right now, and very disappointed that a lot of his top free agents' prices are on the decline as we inch closer to spring training and are going to have to take lower prices. And he's starting to claim collusion, which I don't think it's that. I think teams are a lot smarter on not making those stupid contracts like they used to. And of course, the big trade this week is the Giants make a trade for Andrew McCutchen. And it didn't cost them too much in prospects either. They traded Kyle Crick and for Kyle Crick and Brian Reynolds and cash, and the Giant Padres sent 2.5 million in cash. And the best part of that trade, they did not give up any top prospects for Andrew McCutchen, and this is not too bad of a trade as this is the last year of McCutchen's contract, and it's essentially a 1 year tryout to see if they want to re-sign McCutchen long term or not. McCutchen hasn't hit as well as he has last couple years, and he's on the wrong side of 30. That's the downside, but he is a good defensive out right fielder. So, and now Hunter Pence is going to be pushed to left field, and they are still going to be in the market to acquire a center fielder, depending on the outcome of that. Now I think, a good center fielder they could sign maybe to stay below the luxury tax might be Cameron Maben. He won't slash for average, so to say, but he certainly would be a good defensive center fielder and could be good for the back end of the order. And now your batting order might be McCutchen, Longoria, and Posey in the middle of the lineup, with possibly Hunter Pence leading off, and then maybe Brandon Belt sliding down to the sixth spot, and then Brandon Crawford and Brandon Belt being 6 and 7. It really makes a nice line. And then Panic could be your other option for leadoff, and I think Joe Panic could be a good leadoff hitter next year. But that batting lineup looks a lot better than last year as of right now. Or you could always maybe plug in Austin Slater at center field, put him in the bottom of the order, then have Gorkas Hernandez as your fourth outfielder, which would not be too bad either. Or give Jarrett Parker an audition, and if he doesn't do well in spring training, you cut ties with him. I don't think Jarrett Parker wants to go back to Sacramento this year, so. And then the other hole they need to look at is a fifth starter. I don't know if they want to ride it out with Tyler Beatty or not. But certainly somebody they can sign on the cheap might be might be Trevor Cahill, who can certainly be a cheap number 5 starter. Or maybe bring in a veteran looking for a roster spot to fill the fifth spot for a while. Or, of course, you could look at trading another bullpen piece to try to clear room. I certainly think maybe you could try to move either. Best trade chip might be Corey Guerin, who's had his moments. He's done pretty decent with the Giants the last couple years. I think Guerin could be certainly one that could clear some space for something else. But the Giants only $4.5 million of the CBT left. And it looks like Scott Feldman is another possibility for the number 5 slot. Or they could just try to ride it out with Ty Block as the number 5 starter. We'll see what happens with Feldman, but I think Feldman looks like they're going to try to bring in another starter on a minor league contract, depending on how they feel about Ty Block. But I think they'd rather have Ty Block come out of the bullpen next year, go with 3 lefties out of the pen possibly, with DJ Stratton. I'd go with DJ Stratton next year. No, DJ Slayton or Stratton. You go with Will Smith and Ty Block, and then part ways with Steven Okert and Josh Osich, who have not done well out of the bullpen for the Giants the last couple years. Now on to the Golden State Warriors. Don't normally do basketball, but this week I did their buyers or sellers, and they could be sellers at the deadline. I think they need to move either Kevin Looney or JaVale McGee as they try to get a draft pick back for McGee or Looney, as there's a logjam at center with Jordan Bell playing the way he is for the Warriors. And the rest of that, just stand pat and let it ride, and hopefully we'll see if they get another championship or not this year in Oakland. But next year will be their farewell season at the Oracle Arena, then that's going to come down. I certainly think the Oracle Arena could be a good spot for a new Oakland A's ballpark. and they could build a ballpark where Oracle currently sits, and then move into that after, and then play at the Coliseum for the last few years until the ballpark on the Oracle site's built. But next year will be the last year of the Oracle Arena before the Warriors move across the bay to San Francisco to play at the Chase Center, which will be right near the BART. So we'll see how that works out. And then the Chicago Cubs are going to create their own sports network in the next few years. Hopefully, this does not end up a disaster like it was with the Dodgers sports network they created a few years ago. And I think only Spectrum still airs the Sportsnet LA. I don't know if any other providers carry Sportsnet LA besides Spectrum at this moment. But yeah, Sportsnet LA is getting so bad that was has to me been a bust for the LA area, as it was designated as a Dodgers channel. And it's really just not worked out as well as I thought it would be. Yeah, it's only available in the Spectrum and still not carried on DirecTV nor Dish Network as of yet. But the big problem with that's the high fees that Spectrum is proposing for the LA market to carry Sportsnet LA, and I think it's a big joke as a sports channel since that was created, just because of the high carriage fees for it. And at some point, they are going to have to consider pulling the plug on Spectrum Sportsnet LA as more people are cutting the cord at this point. And I just think it's a waste of time, or maybe combined with Time with the other Spectrum Sportsnet channel that only carries the LA Lakers channel. I just hope this is not what the Cubs network ends up being. That means the NBC Sports channel they're currently on in Chicago will focus mostly on their rivals, the Chicago White Sox. They do have an ownership stake in NBC Sports Chicago too. But maybe they need to be really careful about it, because I do think the future of regional sports networks are changing now with the Disney 20th Century Fox merger. So that's certainly going to change a lot of things in the regional sports landscape starting next year, as Disney will acquire all of Fox's regional sports network properties. So you'll probably see channels like Fox Sports West become ESPN West. I don't know if they'll retain the prime ticket name or not for the other FSN channel in LA. You'll probably have ESPN Arizona out in Phoenix and ESPN Dallas and whatnot. But they are going to rebrand a lot of all these FSN channels to ESPN regional sports networks. And you could see a lot of ESPN programming infused to it. So you might see something like Sports Center overnight on all these regional sports networks. As ESPN is struggling as a sports channel right now with all the cord cutting going on and all the layoffs going on at ESPN right now. So that's going to get really interesting. And they haven't officially announced a play-by-play guy for Sunday Night Baseball yet. So we'll see who. I've heard Dave Fleming might be in the running for the new play-by-play guy for Sunday Night Baseball to replace Dan Schulman. But with ESPN cutting costs the way it is, kind of makes me concerned about the way they might manage these regional sports networks when they become Disney property next year. And we'll see if this is the beginning of the end of cable sports networks or not. And then the other challenge is, of course, the shrinking spectrum of over-the-air TV. But with the new broadband coming out on these 3D TVs and the ATSC 3.0, there could be a bigger number of digital channels on one channel, so you might get 20 channels out of one channel by a broadcaster. So that could open up the door for more diginets in the future. And of course, more people are going mobile, so you could see a lot more of ESPN going internet only, or ESPN3 essentially replacing ESPN as the business it is right now. But this is going to be a challenge for Disney as they take over the Fox Sports Networks, regional sports networks next year. And it'll be interesting to see if they divest any of them off and how successful they can be to compete with Root Sports, owned by AT&T. And then we're up here in Northern California, got the NBC sports networks that are owned by Comcast and NBC at this point. So it's a crowded market, and we'll see how they can handle the declining subscriptions of cable TV. As more pay TVs going broadband, you see more broadband. And that's where Major League Baseball's going at this point. And there's going to probably, I don't know, it's just, I wish the Cubs a lot of luck with their sports, with their new network coming up, but I just don't follow the mistakes that the Dodgers did with their sports network down in LA, which is a laughingstock right now. Well, next week on the Sunday Spotlight, figure something out. I think we're going to talk about the pitch clock next Sunday. I think the pitch clock could be next Sunday's topic. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Guys, have a good night. Peace, love, and soul.